Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens won the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships in the main event of WrestleMania 39, as first reported by Dave Meltzer, I believe, and then it was confirmed by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful just before the show actually started. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos was the main event of WrestleMania 39, night one, as I think most people would probably agree that it should have been. And I think definitely on the night it was the right choice. They main evented and won the Tag Team Championships, Owens and Zayn that is, from the Usos in a match that went nearly 25 minutes and never felt like it went that long. It was an incredible main event. It was packed full of drama, it was packed full of action, some really, really great near falls, and some great story beats and storytelling and stuff that sets up a brilliant little bit of drama and business going into night two when Roman Reigns defends his titles against Cody Rhodes. There was no outside interference, no Solo Sikoa, no Paul Heyman or anything like that. This was all just Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos. The Usos brilliantly wore white. One of the Ultra Chats we had in on the podcast said that they see themselves as the good guys in the story, so they wore white, while Owens and Zayn, the baddies, wore black, at least in the Usos' eyes. But obviously we know them as the working class heroes that they are. They also had a brilliant, like, Sami Zayn had his SZ, but in KO style duct tape, and they both had PWG logos on their gear as a reference to the California promotion that they both wrestled in. Well, at least Kevin Owens wrestled in as Kevin Steen, and El Generico wrestled in, who Sami Zayn knows pretty well. But obviously they are two different people, we're all aware of that. Although Michael Cole did make reference to El Generico on commentary. Never did I think I would hear El Generico references like that from Michael Cole in the main event of WrestleMania. Absolutely wild scenes. But it was an awesome main event. Easily the highlight of the show, which was a great night. A really, really solid night from start to end. There is certainly, I think, mixed feelings about the bit between the semi-main and the main. They did a deal with The Miz and Pat McAfee, who made his return, and Snoop Dogg, and some other pro football player. I'm sorry, I don't know who it is. You don't need to tell me in the comments either. That, on paper, like, it only went 3 minutes 40, like the match itself between McAfee and Miz, but end to end, the segment was sort of almost half an hour, and the Rhea Ripley-Charlotte match, which was obviously the reported main event originally, had already gone 23 minutes, which the crowd weren't really into. So the crowd were kind of on a bit of a lull. They were ready for the main event to start. At least we were certainly ready for the main event to start. And then after waiting half an hour. And then after that, segment, they then had the video package for Zayn, and then a commercial, and then a music performance, and then the Usos made their entrance. It really sort of felt like, I don't want to say stalling for time, but it felt like we were all waiting to get to the fireworks factory, and it took us a little bit too long, I think, to get us to the fireworks factory. But really, that's the only negative I could say on the show. Cena Theory opened with a perfectly fine little match that Austin Theory won with some heel shenanigans. There was a ref bump and a low blow. He also did a visual tap out spot to Cena. In my eyes, completely the right call to have Austin Theory go over, and it was exactly the match that it needed to be. It was probably in ring the weakest of the matches. I don't think it was actually the right opener, but really, like, it doesn't matter, because following up from that, it was the four-way showcase match of the Street Profits versus Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus the Viking Raiders versus Alpha Academy. This went 8.5 minutes, and it was all action all the time, and it was all-time fun. If you saw the 8-man tag that they did on Raw, or the build-up match they did on SmackDown, you knew exactly what to expect going in for this, and these lads did not fail to deliver. It was so much fun. It was flips, it was dives, it was this, it was that. Braun Strowman even did a dive off the top rope. He even did his train gimmick and everything, and in the end, the Street Profits picked up the win. It was exactly what it set out to do on the tin. It was a showcase match, and a very fun one at that. Up next, we had Seth Rollins defeating Logan Paul, who had help in some way. Logan Paul, that is, had help in some way, though it ended up not working in his favor, by KSI, who I know because I have watched Celebrity Gogglebox. so I'm aware who a KSI is. And he revealed himself to be Logan Paul's little drink mascot thing. And they tried to do a deal where they put Seth Rollins through the table, but Rollins pulled KSI onto the table and Logan Paul frog splashed him through the announcer's table. Very fun, very silly, very goofy wrestling nonsense. And it was probably what you'd expect from the match, and it was really, really good. I had a great time with it, and it sets up Seth Rollins for some, I hope, a big push coming out of the back of this. What happens with Logan Paul is an interesting one. He did say recently on his podcast that this is it for him. This is his last WrestleMania. But WWE would be fools not to re-sign him to one. So we'll see what comes of that. I would probably wager he'll do some more shows with them. They've got a Saudi show in a couple of months' time. I wouldn't be surprised if he was on that. Someone even suggested on the live stream reactions of Logan Paul, Jake Paul, and KSI versus Seth Rollins and the Street Profits. That to me is a perfectly grand six-man tag that you do in Saudi Arabia. I actually really like the sound of that. I think that would be a hell of a lot of fun. KSI, by the way, had done some wrestling training previously. I think he did it for a YouTube series. So he is, he's got some skills. I don't think he's going to be as good as Logan Paul because, boy, that man he's real special. He's got some stones to him. He's dead good. And we also had Trish Stratus, Lita, and Becky Lynch beating Damage Control in a match that was, it was okay. It was all right. It was perfectly middle of the card. So you had the high points of the showcase match, the showcase tag match, and then the celebrity nonsense of Rollins and Logan Paul. And then it was sandwiched in between the huge, the high drama of Dom and Ray. So it was a perfect placement on the card for it. I really enjoyed what they did with that. And it was exactly what it needed to be. Becky looked great. Lita got in there and did her stuff. Trish looked amazing. Damage Control bumped around like madmen to make all of them look crazy. And in the end, Becky won with the Avalanche Manhandle Slam. It's another win for Becky and Damage Control. I really feel like this is definitely the end of the feud now. I don't know what you do with Damage Control after this, though, because they've been beaten from pillar to post by Becky and co. pretty much since War Games. So, yeah, I don't really know where you go with them as a group other than to split them up. Which was followed by, as I mentioned earlier, the Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio father versus son match. And there was... so this was an advertisement match. I don't know if I'd have had this one as the advertisement match. There was a perfectly good tag team showcase match that you could have put the cinnamon toast... Cinnamojis? Cinnamoji toast crunch that you probably could have put on there instead. But no, it was really odd because you had this big, awesome entrance for Dominic. Then this really cool Rey Mysterio entrance, a massive tribute to Eddie. They even played Eddie's music, Guerrero that is, of course. And he came out in a lowrider with Snoop Dogg. He had the big deal. Then they did his music. He got all the big power and everything. And as he's coming down to the ring, there's this switch. And it just becomes Cinnamon Toast Crunch all around the ring. There's a Cinnamon Toast Crunch thing that's partying with Rey Mysterio. And it felt very counterintuitive of what they'd done previously. Because Michael Cole was doing such a good job of really building this story and making this feel important and emotive. And I feel like some of it was slightly lost. Thankfully, the two then worked an excellent match that completely recovered from the ridiculousness of the sponsorship. Basically, it was the Mountain Dew match that we had in at the Royal Rumble, but this was Cinnamon Toast. We don't even get that here in the UK. There was interference from Judgment Day and Legado del Fantasma. Called Legado del Fantasma, but they were wearing their Latino World Order t-shirts, so I guess that remains to be seen as to whether or not that's what their faction is now. And then lastly, it is Rhea Ripley defeating Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship in a match that started slow but got really, really great by the end. Crowd very split in terms of they were booing Charlotte, cheering Rhea, but also a bit dead. They were not into this match. They did get into it by the end, though. Still very much more pro Rhea than they were Charlotte. But so they were very happy to see that Rhea won. But yeah, this was a perfect example of this is why this was not the main event, and the men's tag match between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos was the main event. But it still was an excellent match. and I hardly recommend people go out to watch this. Ollie will have a full review of the show going up in a couple of hours' time, so make sure you subscribe and enable notifications to always on if you haven't already, to know when that does go up. But overall, I thought this was an excellent night of WrestleMania. It sets up a lot of really cool stuff because this one felt like the celebrity night with Cena and Logan Paul and KSI and Pat McAfee and his football friend. Whereas tomorrow is much more of the wrestling side of things, because it's Gunther, Sheamus, Drew, it's Edge and Balor in Hell in a Cell, it's Brock and Moss, which I guess is for the casual fans. This is what Corey Grace tells us, and Belair Asuka with Roman Cody in the main event. There was no Bobby Lashley on this show either, so presumably he'll also do something. Maybe that'll be the cool down between the cool down between Bianca Belair and Asuka and Roman and Cody. But that remains to be seen. But please do subscribe to this channel. Ollie will have a full review going up later today. We'll have a extended review over on the WrestleTalk podcast shortly thereafter, and we'll be doing live reactions to WrestleMania Night 2 over on that WrestleTalk podcast channel. So please do subscribe to all of this and enable notifications, because we are your one-stop shop for everything that's going on with WrestleMania this weekend. Until then, I've been Luke Owen, D-A-D, is that the right way around? D-A-D, jam that jam.